We dismiss history at our peril.
Liberty Nation Radio with Mark Angelides.
And you're back on Liberty Nation Radio. I remain your host, Mark Angelides, and we continue our conversation with Liberty Nation's national security correspondent, Dave Patterson. Dave, thanks for sticking around. Earlier in the show, we were talking about the Iron Dome or the Golden Dome system, which I love the name. It's such a great name, right? It harkens back to Greek mythology, the Golden Fleece, the Golden Dome.
Golden Age.
Golden Age. Or Golden Age thinking. Now, there's a non-positive one. But there are many other things that the Trump administration is doing with national security. And I think one that in 2016, 2017 was the driving issue. And then it came to a head under the Biden administration when floods of illegal migrants crossed the U.S. border. But now it seems that the legacy media just doesn't talk about the border anymore. And I think the numbers show why, don't they? We had the March figures. It was down 94% illegal border crossings this March from last March. And that's a difference of thousands of people per day. And I wonder why...
Tens of thousands.
I wonder why it's become such a non-issue when it's always seemed to me to be one of the most important national security issues. People you don't know who may want to do you harm, may want to do your country harm on a large scale, are allowed to freely enter and leave the nation. And I always wondered why that was never considered as one of the key national security issues. But now nobody talks about it because and why is that? Is it because it's being dealt with, or is there something else?
I think yes, absolutely, because it's being dealt with. I mean, on one day, some poor schnook, one person tried to get across the border. I mean, that's pretty effective. That's a pretty effective border. Yeah. And as President Trump says, it is the best circumstance that we've had. But it's not because he didn't do anything. It's because he made the border secure. He sealed up the southern border. And so if he doesn't have much to talk about in terms of flooding the country, so the media doesn't have much to talk about either. What they will talk about is, oh my goodness, he's sending another 1,100 troops to the border. Okay, well, that's how you secure the border. And so it's been pretty effective. And so why would you stop doing something that's been effective?
Let's talk about that. So what has he done here? There's the political will side, and I do want to get to that because it seems to me that the driving force behind this was just political. Joe Biden could have done this, but he chose not to.
Absolutely.
But what specifically has Donald Trump, the administration, done since coming into office the second time to shut down that border physically?
Well, first of all, he stopped catch and release. That's the first thing. That was the first day so that's no longer a policy. Secondly, which was kind of, I won't say ingenious, but it was pretty smart. And that is he established a military reservation on the easement that the United States has on the border. So now you cross the border and you are trespassing on a military reservation, and that's against the law.
Sure.
So now you've got now they're anybody who tries that is not only an illegal alien, but has broken the law by trespassing on a military installation. Yeah, that's pretty good.
It's pretty smart. It's pretty smart.
And it didn't take legislation to do that.
Okay, so we've got these in, and now nobody's talking about the border wall, and I believe construction is still taking place.
Absolutely,
and repairs. Do you have any of the latest information on that?
Well, it's continuing, and they've put money in the budget for it, and I'm not sure, but I do think it may be in the reconciliation bill as well, but it's certainly in the 26 budget.
Okay, so there's money for the wall. The last I heard was from Caroline Leavitt, and this is just the last I heard, not necessarily the last that she made mention of it, that there was roughly an extra 80 miles had been built and another 70 or something had been reinforced. Do you think that, because Donald Trump, one way or the other, he finishes his presidency in January.
Yeah, the campaign's in 2028. And
so he's out in 2029. And whoever comes in, whether that's Democrat or Republican or Libertarian, because you never know, right? You never.
Yeah. Maybe not the Green Party, but
you never know.
Never know.
You never know. If you want to know about political upsets, just look across the Atlantic at Nigel Farage. The man they thought would never even become a member of Parliament is now on track to become the next Prime Minister, which is quite something. And he's getting there over the defeated rubble of arguably the most successful political parties that have ever existed. So never say never in terms of who gets in who wins the 2028 election. But do you think that there'll be backsliding on border control going forward?
So there's sort of a rule in the government that nothing happens except for crisis and late to need. And so if they can't develop a crisis, or a crisis isn't on the border, it'll lose its appeal. On the other hand, they have to, the adults have to get in charge, and they have to keep saying that the reason that we don't have this problem anymore is because of what we did, and we need to maintain that. And you make it a national security priority and a part of your national security strategy. You institutionalize it in terms of the budget, and you're better capable of making sure that initiative remains a viable part of national security. And it is. I mean, it is a part of national security. I once was watching a hearing, and some poor soul on the left said, "Well, I take offense at you calling this an invasion." And I was thinking, well, let me see. 12 million is not an invasion, but 257,000 on D-Day was an invasion. I'm sorry, I don't get that.
257,000, that's rookie numbers.
Yeah.
Rookie numbers. Need to get those figures up there. Dave Patterson, final word for you. Do you think that the Democratic Party will be swinging back towards the mantra of Bill Clinton in terms of border security and illegal immigration come the next election?
Well, I think they would if they were smart, but there's no indicator to me that they'll suddenly become smart. We've seen the move to the left with AOC and Bernie Sanders, and I just don't see it happening in the near term. But they may well, the liberal side, the progressive side, the lunatic side may well wear out their welcome and be discarded in favor of common sense.
Yeah, when one fails to learn the lessons of the past, they're doomed to repeat them, and that could even entail electorally. Dave Patterson, thanks ever so much for joining us.
Thank you, Mark.
And that's all we have time for on this week's edition of Liberty Nation Radio, heard coast to coast on the Radio America Network. I'd like to thank our guests, Andrew Moran and Dave Patterson, and of course extend my thanks to you, the listeners at home, for tuning in each and every week. You are appreciated. Please remember, Liberty Nation does not endorse candidates, campaigns, nor legislation. This presentation is no endorsement.
We dismiss history at our peril. Liberty Nation Radio with Mark Angelides.